Our story opens with the protagonist chopping cabbage, his skills impressive and lightning fast. An egg fries in a pan, cooking so perfectly it seems to glow. With his prep work done, the cook is ready for his food truck's grand opening that day. From a distance, two men in suits observe the food truck, noting it will open soon. Suddenly, a massive crowd of girls receives a message with the food truck's location all at once. This news sparks chaos as bus passengers shout for the driver to rush to the spot. Over at a college, students bolt from their seats, and even the professor abandons the lecture to join them. Seeing this, an office worker asks for the day off, since his own clients are also running to the food truck. Meanwhile, in a control room, a woman reports that the live crowd has surged past 100,000. She's then startled as the number leaps to 200,000 and then to 1 million. Witnessing his popularity, a mysterious woman decides she'd better go before it's too late. With determination, she affirms that this time, she won't miss her chance to find Mr. Deok Chun. His fame is apparently so great that girls everywhere are dropping what they're doing to head over. One girl on horseback and another on a motorcycle also race toward the location. Even a professional motorcycle racer speeds through the streets, determined not to miss out. At last, the food truck reaches its destination for the day and prepares to serve the massive crowd. The racer manages to arrive just in time, telling herself thankfully that she isn't late. All of this commotion is for these incredibly amazing-looking plates of food. And this is the face of the famous cook causing all the uproar, Go Deok Chun. He warmly welcomes the enormous crowd of passionate fans who have been waiting for him. But the scene snaps back to reality, revealing a man lying alone in a dark room. On his phone, multiple collection notices appear for a debt of 300 million. He had fallen for a scam involving buying items and writing reviews for a fake profit. The young man thought it was a decent side job, but it turned out to be a complete sham. This fraud even became a news story with hundreds of people losing billions. In the comments, people make fun of the victims, and what eats at him most is resentment. His family has stopped speaking to him, and the poor guy even lost his job, left alone in the snow. Utterly devastated, the young man buys a bag full of liquor bottles to drown his sorrows. For someone like him, there is nothing left to do, so he simply drinks to slowly disappear. Suddenly, an incredible aroma catches his attention, and a golden trail guides him down the street. The scent leads him straight to the food truck of that famous cook, Go Deok Chun. He glances into his own pocket, but all he finds are a few spare coins. Noticing his presence, the cook asks why such a young guy looks so sad. Annoyed, the young man snaps back, telling him not to act like he knows anything about his life. However, the chef's reaction leaves him slightly surprised and completely speechless. The man simply smiles, says he must be hungry, and offers him some food on the house. The young man's mouth waters as he stares at the food, unable to believe it's free. Without much hesitation, he grabs one of the dumplings and takes a huge bite. Its crispy shell explodes in his mouth as if the atmosphere itself were collapsing. The soft dough pulls him in like gravity, while the octopus spins in his mouth like a comet. Sauce and flakes surround him like the Milky Way as he floats through deep space. This universe he swallows melts inside him, warming him with a burst of golden light. Back in reality, he weeps with emotion, feeling the chef's sincere comfort in the food. The cook admits he doesn't know his story, but shows him that things aren't as bad as they seem. With tears streaming down his face, the young man shouts that he wants to make food that comforts people too. In response, the chef tosses him his bandana and asks what he's waiting for. With a confident smile, Mr. Deok Chun invites him to climb aboard and get to work. 3 years fly by, and to repay that kindness, he worked alongside Uncle Deok Chun. But the kind cook is no longer with him, leaving a debt in his heart that can never be paid. His master's scolding still ring in his ears, even though he is now a ghost. The heir vows to make the name Go Deok Chun famous, much to the ghost's embarrassment. The scene then shifts to a luxurious restaurant where waiters are busy preparing for service. Two employees whisper curiously, wondering if it's even possible to rent out the entire restaurant. The person who did is the sole daughter of the Sage Group, the world's largest corporation. Her name is Nam Si-hee, and she sits at a table surrounded by her own personal chefs. Her lifestyle is so lavish that she travels to college by helicopter and rents private islands. Everyone envies her, imagining how happy she must be every day with such an easy life. Yet behind this perfect facade, the girl's expression reveals a deep sense of discontent. She despises having her clothes and her life constantly judged by everyone around her. This phony existence has quietly but surely left her feeling completely sick and exhausted. To her, these fancy dishes are made only for flattery, they lack sincerity and taste only of money. Even food from the world's top chef makes her feel nauseous, and she feels ill in front of everyone. In the end, all that remains is an empty loneliness that not even billions of dollars can fix. Trapped in this suffocating display of perfection, she feels her life slowly draining away. Her eyes close as she realizes she is slowly fading away from the inside out. We then cut to a busy street where traffic is at a complete standstill. Inside a car, the wealthy heiress looks like she's choking and says she can't breathe anymore. Her driver notices her distress and asks if she wants him to open a window. But she's already outside, offering an apologetic smile before leaping from the moving car. The young woman then vaults over the hood of another car, sending its driver into a panic. Desperate, the man calls his boss, reporting that the young lady has simply disappeared. Now free from her shackles, the girl walks confidently down the street, ready for a new life. She deliberately left everything behind to make it difficult for anyone to find her for a while. With arms wide open, she celebrates her decision to live as the real Nam Si-hee. Soon, however, reality sets in, and she wonders how long she can survive on just a few checks. Just then, a help wanted sign in a convenience store window catches her eye. The ad offers a good hourly wage, and she immediately decides she's going to work there. Beaming with a radiant smile, the former heiress begins her new job welcoming customers. Before long, a customer with a sour face approaches and asks about a promotion. She cheerfully confirms this special, but as she scans the item, her expression shifts to confusion. Suddenly, a drunk man stumbles in, offering a live chicken in exchange for a bottle of liquor. With a smile, the girl agrees to the trade and happily takes the chicken in her arms. At that moment, the store manager arrives and asks Miss C if she's handling the job okay. The store, however, is in chaos with feathers everywhere and a chicken that seems to have grown massive. The young woman gives a thumbs up and says she's fine, but then tells the manager to get out immediately. Unsurprisingly, the mess gets her fired and she has to leave another job behind. At her next job, she's also let go, with the boss saying he should have known she was a fake. And once again, the former heiress is sent away, as no one wants to work with someone like her. Despite the setbacks, she doesn't give up and finds a new part-time job at a chick coffee shop. She delivers a customer's order, wondering what she did wrong since she had been polite. During her break, the girl asks for the price of coffee while clutching her last few paychecks. The owner of the cafe replies with a sly grin that the price is 60 million won. The young woman is so shocked she even drools in despair at the absurd price of 60 million. With that, she bolts out of the shop apologizing, as the man calls out that he was just joking. But he then notices she left her money on the table and yells for the young lady to come back. Defeated on the ground, the former rich girl realizes just how hard life is for ordinary people. Through her tears, she concludes that a Nam Si-hee without money or status is absolutely nothing. Out of nowhere, a delicious smell captures her attention, guiding her to a nearby food truck. The food truck is selling warm, golden fish-shaped pastries. The cook then asks how many she'd like, leaving the young woman completely mesmerized. He finds her a bit odd, as the girl just stares at him with hearts in her eyes. As a tear rolls down her cheek, the young woman looks like she's about to fall apart. She then asks sheepishly if he would sell to her on credit, since she's been fired from every job. The young man says no, and his master's ghost feels sorry for the broke girl's situation. Hearing his refusal, the former heiress's expression turns dark and utterly desolate. She thinks that without money she is useless, and the cook is reminded of his own past. Seeing so much of himself in her, the young man invites her up into the food truck. Confused, the girl doesn't understand until he asks her to make a pastry for him. Clumsily, she steps into the truck and he rushes her along, saying he's hungry. She attempts to make the pastry, pouring the batter into the mold, assuming that's how it's done. Next, the young woman adds the red bean filling, unsure of the correct amount. The former rich girl closes the mold, wondering if the pastry is already ready to serve. A plume of smoke begins to rise and she panics, hoping it all works out. But upon opening the mold, she finds the fish-shaped pastry is completely burnt and black. The girl apologizes for burning it, feeling pathetic and considering a return to her old life. The cook takes the burnt pastry and eats it anyway, as his master looks on in disgust. He declares it's edible and holds out a coin as payment for her work. The young man then asks if she wants to work at the food truck with him, since she can't find a job. The young woman is completely stunned by the unexpected offer, trying to process the information. Noticing her hesitation, he says it's fine if she doesn't want to and offers the coin again. With a smile, she takes his hand and says she would love to accept the job offer. The girl then calls him Mr. Deok Chun while clutching the coin he gave her. Full of joy, she thanks a customer and tells him to come back anytime. By the end of the day, the griddle is clean and empty. They manage to sell absolutely everything. The young woman's eyes sparkle as she asks if she was a big help to the business. The cook looks a bit awkward, a bead of sweat trickling down his face. He replies that she was so, gesturing to a box filled with burnt pastries. Regardless, the young woman is thrilled and declares she'll work hard again tomorrow at the food truck. He tries to correct her, saying his name is Jun, but she sneezes at that exact moment and hears nothing. The guy gives up on correcting her and instead drapes his coat over her shoulders to keep her warm. The former heiress snuggles into the warm coat, looking very grateful for the kind gesture. The ghost of the old master blushes, delighted by the cute scene between the two young people. Inside the truck, the protagonist asks where she lives so he can give her a ride home. But the girl falls silent with a shy look on her face, making him wonder what's wrong. She then explains that while she finally found a job, she now has nowhere to go. The cook and his ghostly master are shocked to learn the young woman is homeless. He thinks to himself that he never would have guessed, given how she was dressed like a celebrity. The young man then offers her the day's earnings so she can use the money to find a place to stay. With tears welling up in her eyes, the young woman is touched by his kindness and concern. He averts his gaze, thinking to himself that she really knows how to make someone worry. As night falls, Deok Chun's food truck becomes a temporary shelter for the homeless young woman. For dinner, the cook begins preparing instant noodles in a pot of boiling water. With his back to her, he mentions that he only has raiment to offer for the night. But she's holding a cat and replies that it sounds amazing, as she's starving. The young woman then recalls that she only ever had a fancy noodle dish once, 5 years ago. Hearing this, the protagonist and his ghost master are stunned, thinking she must be incredibly poor. The truth, however, is that she was on a highly restrictive meal plan and couldn't eat what she wanted. The young woman hugs the cat, saying in a cute way that it looks a lot like Mr. Deok-chun. The guy explains it's just a stray cat that stops by every now and then. She then remarks that she thought the place was a storage unit, but it's actually a house for the cat. Looking at the small space, he corrects her, saying it's the house where he lives, which surprises her. The ramen is finally done, and he tells her he'll grab a smaller bowl for her. But the former Harris, with eyes gleaming, already dives into the pot and begins to devour the noodles. She eats with such delight that the guy simply watches and tells her to eat as much as she likes. The young woman notes that the noodles are spicy, but the smooth, savory texture balances it perfectly. Curious, she asks how he made it, and he reveals the secret is beating an egg with a little milk. The key is to take only the cooked noodles and mix them thoroughly into the egg, coating every strand. Finally, just carefully pour the hot broth over the top, and the perfect meal is ready. Lying on the floor, satisfied, the young woman says she can't remember the last time she ate so much. She then announces she'll sleep right there on the floor, not wanting to impose on his hospitality. But the guy offers her the bed and hangs a curtain to create a partition in the small room. He asks if she's cramped, but the young woman says no as she drifts off comfortably. The master's ghost grumbles that his apprentice is a fool for putting up a curtain. The young woman thanks him for the day, saying she wanted to feel, just once, that she could do something on her own. Overcome with emotion, she tells him he was the first person who ever truly believed in her. Sitting on the bed, the girl says that for a moment, she felt like the real Nam Si-hee. With new determination, she vows to change his life for giving her such a precious day. The former Harris then wonders just how much it will cost to fulfill such a grand promise. She pulls back the curtain, only to find the cook asleep with a funny mask on his face. All of a sudden, a brilliant light floods the room, and the window shatters into 1,000 pieces. An elite soldier appears at the window, announcing they have finally located the young lady. The man grabs her and leaps toward a helicopter as she screams out for the cook. Watching the scene unfold, the master's ghost screams in despair, completely powerless to help. But it was all just a dream, and the protagonist is sleeping, mumbling something about a daughter-in-law. Upon waking with a yawn, the guy sees his bedroom window is completely shattered. Still sleepy, he gets up, confused by the bizarre situation he's woken up to. The cook then realizes that in addition to the broken window, the girl is also gone. Back in the present day, the young man is working at his food truck, just like any other day. The master's ghost sighs in disappointment, thinking he was finally getting a beautiful daughter-in-law. Just then, Jun glances at a billboard and sees an ad featuring the famous Nam Si-hee, the former Harris. Seeing the ad, the master's ghost shouts Nam Si-hee's name in shock, finally putting it all together. Thinking it over, he wonders why he didn't recognize her true identity much earlier. He then recalls the girl's promise to change his apprentice's life and her question about the cost. With this realization, the spirit yells at Jun-ho, calling him an idiot for letting a golden opportunity slip away. The ghost believed that after the chaotic way she left, they would never see her again. But to his astonishment, the former Harris shows up at the food truck, smiling and announcing her return. The cook asks what happened, saying she must have left in a real hurry to break the window like that. She then hands him a check as a thank you for the previous day and for the trouble she caused. When they look at the amount, the guy and his master are floored. The check is for 1 billion won. The protagonist gives her a suspicious look, wondering if this woman is really who he thinks she is. He misreads the amount as 10 billion, which makes the ghost even more stunned. The young woman ignores his confusion and asks about the menu for the day, noticing the truck has changed. Thinking the check is fake, the guy tosses it in the trash and says that today's special is fried chicken. Her eyes light up as the young woman gets incredibly excited about the idea of fried chicken. The master then screams at his apprentice in despair, telling him the money was real. The girl asks if she can help with anything, but the ghost is still freaking out over the young man's blunder. The cook ignores her and with a serious expression, asks if she knows how to make batter for frying. Taken aback, she lists her many talents but admits that making chicken batter is a new one for her. With a smile and a wink, the former wealthy girl promises that she will still give it her all. The protagonist simply watches her with a thoughtful, and perhaps slightly wary expression. He warns that her clothes will get dirty, but she asks if what she's wearing is a problem. With a confident smile, the young woman tells him not to worry as she unbuttons her coat. She then removes the outer garment, revealing a pair of chic, high-heeled shoes. The young woman says she anticipated this and brought more comfortable clothes for work. Seeing her work outfit, the protagonist turns beet red, completely flustered by the situation. Wasting no time, the girl gets right to work, tossing rice cakes into the fryer. The rice cakes plunge into the hot oil, making a loud, startling sizzle that frightens her. Crouching down in fear, she comments that the sound of frying is a bit scary and calls for the chef. At that moment, the guy calls her name with a serious voice and a sharp gaze that catches her by surprise. He then steadies her from behind to keep her from falling, asking with concern if she's all right. The air grows tense with them so close, and she wonders what she's supposed to do with this man. Her face flushed, the young woman extends a hand toward him and calls him by his old master's name. The cook pushes her away, calling her by her real name, and both of them seem startled. He then wraps her in a blanket and holds her in his arms as she softly murmurs the word, "Mum." The scene cuts to a recording studio, where an assistant announces the chairwoman's arrival. Surrounded by bodyguards, this is Yoon-hee Young, the formidable chairwoman of the Sech group. In a cold, commanding voice, the woman asks her staff where Si-hee is. A stammering employee replies that she hasn't arrived yet and that they can't get in contact with her. Irritated, the chairwoman calls for her secretary, Kim, who immediately appears by her side. Her patience gone, the woman decides she will find her missing daughter herself. The master's ghost screams in panic, recognizing the powerful chairwoman Yoon-hee Young. With that, the food truck is overrun and the cook tries to fend off the men in suits. But the protagonist is quickly subdued and forced to his knees before the henchmen. The secretary then asks with a menacing glare if she should dispose of them right now. The chairwoman, however, urges calm, saying they should first hear their side of the story. Seated elegantly, the woman announces she is willing to listen to whatever excuse they can offer. Otherwise, these will be their last words before something terrible happens to the young man. The young man explains they only worked together for a single day and nothing more happened. Si-hee pleads with her mother to believe them, but the powerful woman remains silent. The chairwoman picks up a piece of chicken and asks coldly for the price of the food. He replies that a medium portion is 10,000 won, just as it says on the menu. She scoffs at the price, and though the guy tries to explain, the woman ignores him and turns to her daughter. The mother then asks the cook if he has any idea who the famous Nam Si-hee is. Without a second thought, the protagonist answers with complete honesty that he has no clue. The woman assumes he's lying because of the vast difference in their social status. So, the chairwoman cuts the chase and asks if he has feelings for her daughter. The cook immediately says no, leaving both women surprised by his quick response. With that, mother turns to her daughter, assuming she is the one in love with the poor food vendor. With a furious gaze, the chairwoman demands to know if the young man was with Si-hee last night. He asks her not to misunderstand, explaining they simply ate some ramen together. But the woman suddenly faints and her secretary panics, shouting for a doctor. Annoyed, the cook slams the table and insists she listen, as nothing happened between them. The chairwoman gets close to him and asks if he's just casually dating her daughter. He stammers a denial, so the woman asks if he's planning to marry the heiress. Her eyes blazing with fury, she wonders how a street vendor like him could dare have such ambitions. The guy just sighs, exhausted by the whole mess and the pressure from this powerful woman. The chairwoman then summons her secretary, Kim, with a simple tap on her fancy earring. At this signal, a briefcase full of money is opened, and the young man asks what she's doing. Si-hee and the master's ghost are furious, and the spirit yells at the woman for belittling Jun-ho. The chairwoman offers 10 billion won, and the ghost instantly switches sides, calling her mother-in-law. With that, money flies everywhere as the woman tells her daughter to gather all of it. The young woman is in shock, covering her face as banknotes flutter all around her. She then commands Si-hee to take the money and marry the food truck cook. The guy is completely baffled by the proposal, wondering if he correctly heard the word, marry. Si-hee then turns to him, and the question, marry me, hangs in the air between them. But the girl shouts at her mother, telling her to stop this madness immediately. The chairwoman ignores her daughter's outburst and coldly repeats that she must marry him. The cook is also stunned, stammering as he asks if he really heard the word, marry. Suddenly, Si-hee's demeanor changes, and she tells her mother to stop, saying she's embarrassing her. With a victorious smile, the chairwoman announces there is just one condition for this to happen. But the cook immediately rejects the offer, stating he has no interest in any of it. The woman finds his reaction cute and tells him not to be so alarmed by her proposal just yet. Her condition is that he must get rid of his old food truck and come work for the Sech group. She explains that to be the heiress's husband, he must possess the same status as she does. The guy slams his hand on the briefcase of money, saying he knew from the start she had another motive. With a dark expression, he asks if she was after his food truck this entire time. The chairwoman is confused, but the young man says he has a good sense for one thing in particular. He then leans in closer and reveals he can smell a con artist from a mile away. The woman admires his spirit but warns that she despises a horse she cannot tame. Her furious glare makes it clear she does not tolerate being challenged by anyone. The guy picks up his food, saying he has no intention of ever handing over the wheel to someone else. He then turns his back and tells the powerful woman to never seek him out again, and that, he adds, goes for Miss Nam Si-hee, who he also doesn't want crossing his path anymore. The young woman is heartbroken by the rejection, reaching out a hand and calling his name. The scene shifts to the imposing Sech group headquarters, where the wealthy family lives and works. Si-hee confronts her mother, asking why she did that and ruined everything between her and the cook. The young woman says she has spent her entire life following her mother's wishes without a single complaint. But now, for the very first time, there is something she wants for herself, and she will not give it up. With tears in her eyes, she shouts that she already told her she found someone she truly likes. Then, the daughter asks if the problem is that Mr. Deok Chun doesn't make 1 billion a month. The young woman screams, asking if her mother looks down on him just because he's a stray she took in. Exhausted from the argument, the girl tries to catch her breath in her mother's massive office. With a cold, superior gaze, the chairwoman asks her daughter if she has finished her little performance. The woman states she doesn't care who she dates because no one is on their family's level. She then whispers in her daughter's ear that if she truly wants the man, she can have him. But the mother adds a threat, saying all she has to do is ensure he can never work again. For his sake, the girl must simply obey and protect this age group, as she has always done. She must be like a fish in an aquarium, continuing to follow orders just as she always has. With tears in her eyes, the young woman feels trapped as her mother calls her a good girl and a good daughter. Meanwhile, back at the food truck, the protagonist goes about his workday as usual. He pauses to clean the portrait of his master, telling his uncle not to worry about the situation. The young man says he protected the truck, but the ghost complains that he threw away 10 billion. Alone with his thoughts, the cook remembers the girl and her name Namsi He. He had seen himself in her and wanted to help, but now he wonders if she only wanted the food truck all along. Frustrated with his own thoughts, the young man punches the wall with force. He thinks about how he was almost deceived again and vows to protect his legacy with his life. Back at the mansion, the secretary tries to console He, who is in the middle of a tantrum. She throws herself onto the bed, crying that it's all her mother's fault and that his pride must be wounded. Sobbing uncontrollably, the young woman wails that 10 billion is nothing and that he told her to leave. She then worries about what her mother will do, imagining her precious Deok Chun as a helpless little mouse. Cuddling a doll of him, the young woman says she has to be there to protect him from her wicked mother. She then recalls the serious yet gentle face of her beloved Mr. Deok Chun and sighs dreamily. Memories from the day before flash through her mind, like when he draped his coat over her, or when the two of them stood so close and an intense chemistry sparked between them in the food truck. Blushing happily, the girl admits to herself that she is already completely in love with him. Suddenly, a brilliant idea strikes her, and she sits up in bed, resolute. With that, the young woman dashes down the mansion's hallway, a new plan forming in her mind. She grabs manager Kim and yells for her to prepare everything for what's coming next. With a mischievous and confident grin, the wealthy Harris announces she is going to make a grand proposal. Meanwhile, on a sunny day, the stray cat dozes peacefully outside. The cook wakes up, remarking that the weather is perfect for today's business. But the loud roar of a helicopter overhead catches his attention, and he wonders what's going on. In shock, the young man sees his food truck being airlifted by a black helicopter. He stands frozen for a moment, unable to believe what he's seeing. The protagonist then screams in desperation that that's his truck, his uncle's legacy. As the helicopter flies away, he yells for them to stop right there and return his property. Without a second thought, the young man takes off running through the streets, trying to catch the helicopter. Along the way, he grabs a rental bike to speed up his pursuit. Pedaling with all his strength, the cook refuses to give up on retrieving his precious food truck. Exhausted, he presses on with the chase, shouting for them to bring back his truck. Worn out from pedaling, the protagonist is bewildered by the scene that unfolds before him. He comes upon a massive, luxurious truck parked in the middle of the street, wrapped like a present. Slowly, the vehicle's rear door begins to open, unveiling a grand surprise. A screen rises, and behind it appears the silhouette of a bride in a wedding dress. The bride is He herself, who calls out to him by the old master's name with a smile. She explains that she prepared all of this with her whole heart, just for him. The young woman opens her arms radiantly as the cook remains stunned by the situation. Written on the side of the truck is SH Culinary Cruise, revealing the gift's incredible scale. The young woman explains it's a one-of-a-kind luxury food truck custom made just for him. She steps closer, saying that from now on they can be together, working there side by side. But the young man grabs her arm firmly, demanding to know what she did with his old truck. Sometime later, the former Harris sits inside the new truck, looking quite sad. The protagonist is teaching her how to chop vegetables, guiding her hands to master the correct technique. Being so close makes the young woman blush, and she seems to be enjoying the moment with the cook. He then embraces her from behind, tenderly calling her by his uncle's name. The young man scolds her, saying he had warned her not to do anything so dangerous and reckless. But the young woman simply replies that her only goal was to be helpful to him. Holding her in an embrace, he tells her that she has already given herself as a gift, and that was enough. The young man declares his feelings and kisses her passionately, confessing his deep love for He. But it was all a dream. In reality, she was kissing Secretary Kim, who was asking her to come inside. The secretary doesn't see what's so special about him and questions the young Harris's actions. After all, among the girl's assets is the heart of the sky, an incredibly valuable blue diamond ring. She also possesses a secret art collection with works valued around 30 trillion won. Furthermore, she owns a private space station capable of controlling the Earth's weather. Because of this, the secretary exclaims that compared to everything she has, the cook has nothing but a truck. But the young woman insists he filled a void in her heart that no amount of wealth ever could. Of the countless possessions she has, none of them are what she truly wanted in life. And for the first time, she has found something she desires so much that she's unwilling to lose it. The time she spent with him at the food truck felt like magic and completely transformed her life. There, she was a nobody, yet she discovered a happiness that money could never buy. That's why she prepared all of this for herself. She just wanted a chance at real happiness. And of course, she also plans to make Mr. Deok Chun the happiest man in the entire world. Like Cinderella, she vows to change everything for him, transforming him into a true prince. She asks him to simply slip on the glass slippers and run to her so they can live happily ever after. But suddenly, the glass slipper shatters into 1,000 pieces and her dream crumbles. In the darkness, the cook calls out to her, extending a hand with an unfriendly expression. Back in reality, he grips her arm tightly and yells, demanding to know what on earth she had done. Angrily, the young man tells her not to tarnish his master's name with all her lies. Confused and hurt, the girl asks why he's acting this way as he pins her against the truck. The secretary then grabs her from behind, shouting at the young man, "How dare you?" He says he's been through this before and knows people use sweet words to steal everything you have. That's why the guy tells them to cut the nonsense, because he's not falling for it this time. The cook makes it clear that he doesn't care if she's a wealthy heiress or anything else. He has absolutely no intention of abandoning the name and legacy of Go Deok-chun. With a defiant look, the young man dares them to try and take his precious food truck from him. The girl then realizes that her wealth means absolutely nothing to him. What he was challenging her to take was not just his street food truck. Her eyes shining, she understands that what was truly at stake was Mr. Deok-chun's heart. With this realization, a smile spreads across her face, and a new resolve fills the young heiress. The protagonist just stares back at her, his expression serious and unwavering. Sometime later, he is back at work, preparing a delicious-looking corn dog. With a stylish flourish, he adds the final touches, making the dish even more appetizing. He then wishes the customer a good meal and hands over the incredible-looking corn dog. Hiding behind a tree, the former heiress vows to help him sell out completely that day. The young man notices that business is booming, but he can't shake the feeling that something is off. Suddenly, a crowd of men in suits appears surrounding the cook's food truck. One of them takes a bite of the corn dog and praises its flavor, saying it's exceptionally good. From her hiding spot, the girl watches the scene, finding it all very suspicious and a bit strange. The stray cat is also sleeping peacefully nearby as the young man calls for the next customer. The disguised young woman says she'll buy all the remaining corn dogs, but he refuses to sell them. Annoyed, he calls her by name and tells her there's no way he's selling to her. The young woman then appears in a full animal costume, still insisting on buying a corn dog. He calls her persistent as he forcefully pulls the costume head off her. The young woman demands to know why he won't sell to her, saying he's being very mean. She then tries to snatch a pillow from him, yelling that he has to give her a chance. Determined, the young woman declares she will do anything for an opportunity to work there. The cook observes her in silence, a serious and thoughtful expression on his face. He then pulls her into a tight embrace, holding her firmly in his strong arms. Confused by his sudden action, the girl is momentarily frozen and unsure how to react. Her face flushing, she wonders what's happening and starts to feel a sense of panic. The young woman thinks she's not ready for this and that things are escalating too quickly. But then, she closes her eyes and declares that she is ready for whatever comes next. The guy just gives her a bewildered look and asks what on earth she's doing now. He then reveals that he was just putting an apron on her so she could start working. The cook tells her that if she wants to eat, she has to earn her keep fairly. With a smile, the young woman ties up her hair and says she's ready to work hard. But the protagonist holds her firmly, wondering why this woman is going to such great lengths. Shaking off his thoughts, he simply says it's time to get to work, and she agrees with the guys. The young woman begins serving customers, pausing to take a photo as she hands out corn dogs. With a smile, she snaps another picture, clearly enjoying her new job immensely. The camera zooms in on her frying with a look of intense concentration, a sight that shocks the young man. Next, the young woman takes a photo of herself tasting a corn dog with the sunset in the background. Someone then captures a picture of the two of them together, a moment that looks very romantic and special. Elsewhere, Secretary Kim is on the phone, confirming her boss's instructions. With a serious expression, she guarantees that everything will be handled exactly as they discussed. Sometime later, the protagonist's phone rings, and he wonders who could be calling so late. Fresh from a shower, the young man answers the phone, having no idea who might be on the other end. The young woman sends him a barrage of messages, but he ignores them, replying that he's busy. The young man decides he needs to block her number, but his phone continues to ring incessantly. He then moves to his computer, determined to resolve the issue once and for all. His muscular back on display, the cook finishes his task and declares that he's ready. The following day, he arrives at an amusement park, having won an auction for a vendor spot. His new menu features a super colorful ice cream loaded with different sweets and syrups. Served in a strawberry cone with plenty of toppings, the ice cream looks like a true masterpiece. He gets ready to open for business and start selling his new, delicious specialty ice cream. But the park is completely deserted, and he wonders why there's nobody around. The young man looks around, questioning if rain is on the way, since the place is so empty. All of a sudden, the young heiress appears and takes a lick of the ice cream with a seductive gaze. With ice cream on her lips, she announces her arrival, completely surprising the cook. He is left speechless, a bead of sweat trickling down his face as he wonders how she found him. A light bulb flashes above his head as the cook seems to have a sudden realization. He then asks if the amusement park also happens to belong to the powerful Sech group. But the young woman denies it with a cute, cat's gesture, saying it's not what he's thinking. She then reveals that no other customers will be coming today, and the young man is stunned by the news. The young woman explains she rented out the entire park just for them, leaving him utterly speechless. He thinks about his $5 million a month rent and starts to worry about going bankrupt with her around. With a sultry expression, the girl tells him to focus only on her for the day. The two of them then begin to enjoy the rides, with the young woman eagerly dragging him all over the park. Secretary Kim watches from a distance, assuring her chairwoman that she will handle everything. In a control room, another powerful woman named Yoon Hyeryong is giving orders. The president asks if the secretary doesn't trust her, and the woman bows in submission. Slamming her fist on the floor, the secretary vows she will prove her worth in her own way. With that, she storms off, determined to complete her mission and solve the problem herself. The president believes her daughter has gone astray because of that man from the food truck. Her job is to eliminate any potential risks and prevent the two of them from ending up together, so the secretary decides she has no choice but to seduce the cook first. To this end, she spent $5 million on dating courses and mastered the theory of eye contact. With her newfound knowledge, she prepares to put her plan into motion and win over the young man. But the protagonist is just confused by the woman's strange behavior. Her first step is to establish firm eye contact, but the roller coaster thwarts her plans. The young woman screams with delight as the secretary's hair whips across the protagonist's face. The woman decides to use the ride's speed to her advantage and execute her plan. She moves closer to him and hugs him tightly, capitalizing on the adrenaline of the moment. Her next step is intense physical contact, aiming to steal a sigh from the young man in the process. Afterwards, they go on a water ride, and the secretary clings to his arm. The wealthy Harris is having a blast on the ride, laughing joyfully at the situation. After the ride, the cook is completely drenched from head to toe. The young woman then snaps a photo of them together to commemorate the fun day. She says the timing is perfect and pulls him into a date dressed in school uniforms. The two take cute mirror selfies and get ready to enjoy the rest of their day at the park. The girl gives him a kiss on the cheek as they take a photo adorned with cute effects and stickers. The couple then rides a carousel, and he holds her on his lap to keep her from falling. On another thrill ride, the young man holds her securely on his lap as she screams with excitement. Seeing this, Secretary Kim decides she won't lose this competition and springs into action. But her high heel snaps at that exact moment, causing her to lose her balance and fall toward them. The woman ends up landing right on top of the couple, completely ruining their romantic moment. Desperately, she begs him to hold on to her as she's about to fall from the ride. The young man holds on to her and asks how she can be a bodyguard if she can't even handle this. The secretary is furious, wondering what just happened. He then grabs her by the wrist, stopping her from causing any more trouble during their fun day. The woman then deliberately throws herself backward to try and create a romantic moment with him. Lying on the ground, the cook hears her say that she only did what he asked her to do. Holding the Harris, the secretary wonders why the young man isn't falling for her charms. The young woman is confused because the seduction theory she studied seemed flawless. Seeing her plan fail, the young woman decides it's time to implement her new strategy. With that, on a new ride, the secretary begins to spin the wheel with all her might. She then spins the ride faster and faster with a look of determination and a hint of malice. He seems to be enjoying the speed, yelling excitedly as her hair flies back. But the protagonist gets dizzy and shouts at the woman to stop her crazy antics. Her plan is to disorient him and essentially brainwash him into falling for her. The ride spins so fast it resembles a top, and the young man yells, asking what she's doing. Annoyed, the young man grabs her hands forcefully and tells her to stop immediately. The secretary is taken aback by his action, wondering what he's doing with her hand. With an intense gaze, the cook stares her down, and the eye contact makes the atmosphere tense. This deep and unexpected physical contact leaves the woman completely speechless. Her face turning bright red, the secretary is left confused about what just transpired. Dizzy from the situation, she wonders if her heart just skipped a beat for him. He tells her to let go, but the woman says she can't because she'll get sick if it spins anymore. The secretary thinks she was almost caught in her own trap and that he is no ordinary man. Embarrassed, she thinks that the young lady absolutely cannot see her in this state. The wealthy Harris is completely dizzy, seeing stars after spinning so much on the ride. The secretary apologizes frantically while holding the young woman to keep her from falling. The woman helps her walk, but suddenly, the young woman's stomach lets out a loud growl. Her face turning beet red, the girl is mortified by the embarrassing situation. She whispers for the secretary to claim the noise was hers, but the young man hears everything. The woman takes the blame, saying the sound came from her, but he replies that he can hear them both. Annoyed, the secretary glares at him, and he just tells her to pretend however she likes. The young woman then announces she's going to the restroom and asks Mr. Duck Chun to wait for her. Now alone, the cook picks up a toy gun, and the woman addresses him with a serious tone. Striking an imposing pose, she challenges him to a high-stakes bet in a shooting game. The protagonist just gives her a look of complete boredom and disinterest in her wager. He asks what she wants, saying she's been getting on his nerves for a while with these games. The secretary says she'll get straight to the point and loads the toy gun with a menacing air. She then points the gun at him and tells the young man to choose his fate. With a cold gaze, the woman presents him with two options, the first of which is to simply perish. The other option she offers is for him to fall in love with her, once and for all. The young man thinks the whole thing is ridiculous but notices something odd about her gun. She says she's giving him permission to like her, on the condition that he stays away from the young lady. The young man wonders why everyone in that family is so desperate to keep him away. With a serious look, he replies that he wouldn't want her even if offered a mountain of her, and waves her off. He says he would never want a woman who tries to steal his food truck, but he's cut off. With that, the secretary fires, and a rubber bullet hits the young man squarely in the shoulder. The young man is in shock, wondering for a moment if the gun was actually real. Furious, the woman shouts, asking how he dares to say he has no use for the young lady. The cook drops to his knees, crying out in pain and clutching his injured shoulder. But as he touches the area, he realizes it doesn't actually hurt as much as he first thought. The woman explains they're rubber bullets but warns she could easily disable his arm. With a smile, she informs him this is his final opportunity to make a decision. The secretary then yells at him to just say, once and for all, that he really likes her. But the protagonist simply replies with disdain that she's completely lost her mind. Seeing the rage in her eyes, the young man realizes he needs to escape as quickly as possible. Just then, the wealthy Harris returns from the restroom and calls out to him by his old master's name. Without a second thought, the young man grabs her and uses her as a shield to get away from the secretary. The young woman is completely baffled by his sudden action and has no idea what's going on. The secretary then screams in panic, realizing he's using the young lady as a hostage. Unable to fire at the girl, the woman lowers her weapon, seemingly at a loss for what to do. With a furious look, she vows that if she can't have him, she will destroy him completely. The scene cuts to an abandoned school building with a sign warning that entry is forbidden. The master's ghost then welcomes them to the park's haunted school attraction. Frightened, the young woman clings to him and asks if he has finally agreed to go on a date. The young man tells her to stay close, explaining they're going to hide there for a bit. Her face flushing, the young woman happily agrees and snuggles even closer to him. But unbeknownst to them, a security camera is tracking their every move. Watching everything on a monitor, the secretary can't believe he fell right into her trap. Dressed in a ghost costume, she reveals that she had prepared this place in advance. It turns out the haunted house is the most popular attraction in the entire park. For someone with the young lady's sharp reflexes, the woman thinks it should be a piece of cake. Just then, the protagonist steps on a loose floorboard and remarks that the place isn't so bad. Suddenly, the floor gives way and the secretary yells that it's because everything is so realistic. In a panic, the cook shouts that this is far too realistic as he plummets into the darkness. But the wealthy Harris thinks the added excitement has made things even better. All at once, a volley of darts shoots out towards them in the dark hallway. The young man is startled as the sharp objects narrowly miss his face. With incredible agility, the young man manages to just barely dodge every single dart. Now on the floor, the girl tells Mr. Deok-chun not to be afraid of anything in there. With a chilling look, she promises to stay by his side and keep him safe. But the cook is panicking, thinking they're going to get seriously hurt if they stay any longer. Watching from her monitor, the secretary realizes she may have gone a little overboard. She then notices something is wrong as the place suddenly bursts into flames. The young man shields her with his body, thinking the situation is about to get really bad. Seeing the zombies closing in, the young man protects her, and the secretary notes that he's actually helping. In the chaos, he drops the flashlight and panics at the loss of their only light source. Without it, the hallway is plunged into complete darkness, leaving them unable to see anything. Out of nowhere, a terrifying figure appears, and the cook wonders what on earth it is. The secretary, disguised as a ghost, prepares to give the poor guy the scare of his life. Wasting no time, the woman lands a powerful kick right across the protagonist's face. Startled, the young man yells that this is insane, and that things have spiraled out of control. He manages to light up the hallway again, but the frightening figure has vanished. What he doesn't realize is that the woman is now clinging to the ceiling right above them, biding her time. Just then, the floor opens up again, catching the young man completely by surprise. The secretary then dives down toward him with her arms outstretched, ready to grab him mid-fall. But the wealthy Harris spots a red button and presses it without considering the consequences. Instantly, a cage drops from the ceiling, trapping the two of them together in a tight space. Now stuck with him, the woman feels a strange sensation and her heart begins to race. The young man ends up falling right on top of her, their lips just inches apart. Her face flushing, the secretary wonders if what she's feeling is his lips touching hers. But the cook, annoyed by the proximity, lands a solid punch on the woman. Furious and red-faced, the secretary swears she will get her revenge and finish him for good. Exhausted from the ordeal, the young man collapses on the floor, saying he just wants to go home. But the young woman approaches, warning him there's no time to rest because the adventure isn't over. After all the chaos, they finally emerge from the house and arrive at a deserted carousel. But the secretary shouts that there's no escape and uses her watch to accelerate the ride. With that, the carousel begins to spin at a dangerously high speed, and the young man groans at her persistence. The wealthy Harris, however, seems to be enjoying the situation, declaring that they're trapped. At this, the protagonist puts it all together and wonders if she planned this whole crazy thing. The young woman then grabs him, saying she's going to stick to him for a month, just like he suggested. Warily, the cook asks what it will take for her to finally give up. With a smile, the young woman replies that he already knows the answer to that question. She then moves closer, saying he knows exactly what she wants from him in that moment. The young woman then leans in and kisses him passionately in the middle of the spinning carousel. Suddenly, the ride short-circuits, causing a massive burst of light. Just then, the secretary notices an error on her watch and is confused by what just happened. The entire park abruptly loses power, and the woman screams with concern for her young lady. As the lights flicker, the young woman says it was just a power outage, trying to calm him down. But when she looks around, the wealthy Harris is confused to find she's completely alone. The cook has simply vanished, and she calls out for him using the old master's name. The scene cuts to the protagonist, already far away, driving his food truck with grim determination. He considers the penalty for breaking his contract, but knows he can't let that woman control him. After all, she is threatening his life and treating him like a toy she bought with her money. The memories of the day at the amusement park are still vivid in his troubled mind. He ultimately concludes that he is a cruel and manipulative woman. With the master's ghost beside him, he swears he won't let her do as she pleases with the truck. Under the moonlight, the young man asks his uncle to watch over him during this difficult new journey. Elsewhere, the secretary is apologizing to the chairwoman for having failed her mission. With a cold stare, the powerful woman says she had already warned her not to get involved. The secretary then bows low, desperately pleading for just one more chance. She vows to stop him from cooking, but the chairwoman says no and glares at her with fury. The chairwoman then grabs her by the chin and orders manager Kim to stay out of the matter completely. She explains they must allow the young man to distance himself naturally, without any force. The chairwoman says that if her daughter discovers something went wrong because of her actions, then he will have another breakdown, just like she did in the past. Just like what happened 20 years ago, when she caused her own father's departure. The scene then cuts to a commercial for the food truck, starring Sihi herself. At a university festival, various department banners advertise their attractions. A line of food trucks is parked and ready for the day's big event, and our protagonist's truck is among those participating in the festival. Inside his truck, the young man is preparing an incredible-looking pepperoni pizza. He watches the cheese melt and bubble as the pizza bakes in the hot oven. The cook then pulls the pizza from the oven, its cheese super melted and stretchy. The young man thinks the park event was a shame but is grateful for this new opportunity. Luckily, he was able to secure a spot for his food truck at the university festival. Seeing all the college students reminds him that he was once one of them. Just then, a customer approaches and excitedly asks for a slice of pepperoni pizza. He shakes off his nostalgic thoughts and confirms the order, only to be surprised a moment later. The young man is completely shocked and speechless at the sight of the person before him. A young woman with glasses calls him Jun-ho, and he recognizes her as Park Yuri. He remembers her and asks if she wasn't still in elementary school the last time they saw each other. Blushing, the young woman replies that that was many, many years ago. The young man can't believe she's already in college, saying she looks exactly the same. The young woman then compliments him, saying he's just as cool as he used to be. With her heart pounding, the young woman becomes shy and hides her face. He asks if the guy next to her is her boyfriend, and she immediately denies it. The cook then offers his old friend a slice of his pizza to try. She mentions she's on a diet, so she'll just have a tiny bite to taste it. But after one bite, the young woman is amazed and praises it, saying it's truly delicious. The salty pepperoni flavor bursts in her mouth with an explosion of umami. The spicy seasonings melt and blend together in a simply incredible way. On top of that, the cheese perfectly balances all the bold flavors. The taste of the cheese is so addictive it makes her want to eat more and more without stopping. The girl then starts to panic, remembering she's supposed to be on a very strict diet. But the dough, soft on the inside and crispy on the outside, completely wins her over. A nutty flavor intensifies with each bite, and the crust is almost unfairly good. Impressed, she asks when he started cooking, because his food is amazing. The young man smiles, saying he's glad to see her enjoying it so much, but then he notices something. He points out that she ate the entire slice, and that her diet for the day is officially ruined. The young man then notices her jacket and asks if she's in the fashion department. He recalls how her drawings used to win awards all the time back in school. The cook remembers her always asking for food when he was just a college student. With a proud smile, he notes that she's now at the top university in the country. The young man praises her with pride, saying she must have worked really hard to get there. His praise makes the young woman blush, and her heart beats even faster for him. At that moment, some friends call out to her and her classmate, telling them to hurry up. The young woman then thanks him for the food and says goodbye, carrying the pizza boxes with her. Her friend teases her about gaining weight as she walks away under the beautiful cherry blossoms. With a radiant smile, the girl turns back and promises she will see Jun-ho Appa again. The young man waves back to her, feeling a sense of relief from the unexpected reunion. He thinks to himself how good it is to see her doing well after all this time. But behind that smile, something dark is hiding as she vows revenge against someone. In a flashback, the young woman appears to be trapped, pleading for someone to let her out.